Welcome back to another episode of Real Life PMP. I'm your host, Crystal Richards, and we're diving into part 3 of my conversation with Lori Schoenhard. Lori is truly the OG of pivoting out of the education space into project management. At a time when many teachers are looking to transition into new careers, Lori made that move over 20 years ago, and she's been thriving ever since. We also discuss the highly transferable skills that teachers bring to project management, highlighting how their experience in education can seamlessly transition into managing projects. If you're considering a career change or just curious about how diverse backgrounds can lead to success in project management, this episode is for you. Let's jump right into part 3 with Lori.
Well, let's tap into another topic sidebar. It's, personality types of PMs. I'm an introvert by nature, right? I'm an introvert. Oh, wonderful. I didn't know that about you. Okay, see, we're all learning something today. I would have never guessed that. So,
Really? Oh my
right.
gosh.
So, I traveled extensively for some PM roles several years ago. And I remember at the end of the day, you'd be on client sides presenting, what have you. We go back to the hotel, we would have dinner. I'd be like, I need to go. I need to go back to my room. I need to recharge now.
Oh my
I cannot
gosh.
do this anymore.
Kindred spirits, Lori.
Okay, wonderful. So, and that was hard. And even, now it's like, okay, I'm an introvert. So what do I need to do to push through that? Being on a podcast for introverts is like, what am I going to talk about? What do I need to prep? What is she going to say? That is, and it's okay to be an introvert. There's many successful PMs and leaders that are introverts. Right. Same with extroverts. It doesn't matter. People are like, oh, a leader is an extrovert. There's certain like Myers-Briggs personality. Oh, no. I think it takes all types, and it should take all types, because
I think so too.
If I, as an individual contributor, look out and see a leader that's like me, then I feel comfortable and safe to approach them and ask them for help.
Yeah, absolutely. And feel comfortable with that one-on-one time and not feel like you have to be on, but just, hey, I've noticed this about, your presence or questions you've asked. And I just want to let you know, I'm here for you. Like if I can answer any questions. And I think, sometimes the introverts have the advantage of being a lot more kind of aware of the situation, I guess what we call situational awareness. But and I think that can be to our benefit. I mean, we all have gifts to, whatever our personalities are, there are strengths that can lend itself to still being an effective project manager. Project managers don't have to be just this one way. And
well, I think leaders and coaches of people too, and giving them opportunities. How many times have you and I led teams of people or teams of technologists or developers? And then many times in those groups of people, there are quiet individuals who do an outstanding job day to day, but they have something to say, right? But they don't want to speak up in the meeting. There's bigger personalities in the room, or maybe they did one time and they got shot down, so they don't feel safe to say it again. There's a really great book by Meredith Feynman called Brag Better. And in her book, she talks about supporting what's called the qualified quiet. And there were many times in my career, and continue to be, it's not my career is over, but there are many times where I'm leading a team, and especially women in IT, where it's like, they're like, hey, Lori, what about this? We should try this. I'm like, yes, we should try that. And then it's how do you naturally bring it up in a conversation in a team meeting of so-and-so had a great idea, let's talk about it. Right. Bringing them into the conversation, giving them credit and giving them a space to say, this is what I think, and nurturing that. I think that's also something that I think PMs are just, I don't want to say obligated to do, but should really think about. It's not always the loudest voices in the room that have the biggest and best ideas. There are many ideas that should be considered in these projects.
And I'm so glad you brought that up. I mean, this is why I do appreciate agile and agile techniques so much, because they do put that emphasis on smaller teams. They put the emphasis on everybody gets a voice and trying to distribute leadership within the team and let them self-organize. And I think that's, for us, when we're put into the Scrum Master team lead role, it allows us to put more focus on, rather than assigning roles, I'm going to let the team decide. And if I see that someone is struggling with having their voice heard, that's really my responsibility, and making sure that we're following good practices. And I this is for me why I appreciate the blend of agile practices and having more hybrid projects, because it's not so much that, oh, we're being water agile. It's, you know what, it's at the core, it's a predictive traditional waterfall project, but there are a lot of practices in agile that can lend itself to letting the teams be more innovative, right? Be
I
more
agree.
dynamic,
I agree.
and then the command and control that we're so used to. So I think there's definitely a shift. That is something I do appreciate about the PMI update, and blending in the agile, and saying that, hey, we're change makers, and
Yes.
saying that, oh, I only know traditional doesn't do the project manager a service, and it doesn't do the organization. Like, and quite honestly, organizations really don't care. Like, I just need you to get this project done. And if
Oh,
we
right.
know,
That's one thing
right?
people forget about. They don't care about,
Oh,
I don't use the analogy of how the sausage is made. I just want it. Like, just
right.
make it, make the food. Right. Use the tools of your toolbox to make that happen. I would
Yes.
say though, even in like waterfall, like, so we're going to talk waterfall, we're going to talk agile. And I think you're spot on with what you're saying about with that agile. But even if you're building a waterfall project plan, and it's a style of project that you've done before, a situation that you've done before for this team, I still think there's an opportunity to go, who out there might know, who can I ask, and even to get their opinion and make feel like their voices are heard or they're providing value to the team, pulling that person aside going, I'm building out this plan, is there anything I'm missing?
Oh,
Right.
yes.
We had this problem before, can you help me remember what we had to do to mitigate that risk? When we did this code deployment, we forgot to do X, Y, and Z. Talk to me about that. Like, so I think it's, yes, in agile it's a little more, you know, it's easier, but even if you're building out a waterfall style plan, there's an opportunity to talk
I
to the
think
quiet folks.
yeah, and it's spot on around that, because we don't know everything. Like, we know
Right.
enough to be dangerous, but what I always tell people is know enough to ask the questions of the people who
Right.
are deep into this, and it allows them to be a part of the solution. It
Yes.
allows you to not have to be overwhelmed with being the one who knows it all. But I think with you stating that, Lori, you've definitely added some other kind of tips. I think humility, and
Yes.
being okay with, this is a collaborative effort. This is a team
Right.
effort. Like, sometimes I think, like, and people will, argue with me, but I find the project managers who are really successful, they brought everybody together and it was a team effort. If
I
they know
agree.
your name, you probably pissed them off. You probably did something, right?
Oh, they're
They can't,
calling me on Teams again.
right,
Oh
exactly. Like,
no.
you probably are like the gatekeeper of everything, when
Right.
that's too much. And that's why people are kind of overwhelmed and stressed.
Yeah.
But I know how to manage a project, but when it comes to some of these deep domain areas, I have the humility to ask the people who are in it all the time, the techs, the
Right.
engineers, even my stakeholders, from their eyes. I know what it may look like based on what we said in our agreements, but what do you really want? Like, am I missing anything? And am I missing anyone? Is there
Right.
somebody who needs to be a part of this conversation that I need to use my diplomacy skills, right? To, like,
Right.
convince the powers that be, like, hey, I need to involve this person in the conversation.
Right. And it's really like a master facilitator, right? You're bringing all these different people together, different groups together, coming up with these plans, and then keeping that train on the tracks, frankly, and whatever methodology they're going to use. That's what it is. And then looking, ahead on the tracks in the next town, and did a tree fall across the tracks? Well, if a tree fell across the tracks, who can go take that tree off the tracks, and so we don't hit it when it's that it's the analogy of project management to me is also a game of chess, where in my
Yeah.
mind, because I love chess and puzzles, okay, and maybe that's why I love what I do in word games and whatnot, it's okay, if this is going to happen, and then this is going to happen, and this is going to happen, what do I need to do for this not to happen? And, you need to think 1, 2, 3 steps ahead. Of course, you can handle that by RACIs and, risk registers and all of the templates in the world. And you can teach someone how to use those templates, but that is where the critical thinking skills come into play. I think still a little bit of a domain expertise in those IT areas are required to be extremely successful, especially as you move up in the career ladder and the complexity of projects. I think being an expert a bit in that domain, not being the expert, but a knowledge of that area is helpful. But I do think project management is a bit of a game of chess. Like, what's the next step? How do I avoid, getting checkmate?
Right.
How do I win this game of chess? And it's not about who's winning and losing.
Don't know chess, checkers works too.
Checkers, okay, checkers. Yes, sorry, I'll take it to a different level. But and it's not about winning or losing. Like, I won this project. It's more about the moves and the methodology and the critical thinking skills and the problem solving skills that are required to be successful.
Yeah, no, I love that. So I would say in our descriptions of how we got into project management, I think prior to 2021, there was definitely a lot of like, I was an accidental project manager. I think that was definitely for you and I, like, we just kind of fell into it. Versus over the last 3-4 years, people are like, I want to be a project manager. It's nothing I've ever seen before. And knowing that you're into coaching more folks these days, now this is a controversial question. What is your biggest excitement about hearing people wanting to get into project management? And what is your biggest pet peeve?
Great questions. You're stumping me. No,
because you are the queen of pivoting, of like of the seriously of the transition that I did not know that about you, that it's like, oh my gosh, you demonstrate or epitomize a lot of the folks that I'm hearing wanting to get into project management. They're in that, from that education field or that non-traditional tech field. And you're like, I did that. Like, that was, I did that. And now people are like, I want to, get out of teaching and be a project manager. And I would imagine that you have some stories, and that's another
like
podcast.
A big pivot, but then Crystal, it's like mini pivots, right? And the mini pivots I say are, work for a small business, then I worked for a corporation, then I worked for, a company, a digital agency of 300 people, and then I worked for a corporation again. And it was like pivot. But like I said, the Lego bricks, I learned something from everything. So the two things, one I'm excited about was 20, 30 years PM. PM was never an undergraduate degree. Now it is. I think that's fantastic.
Oh, that is
right?
Exciting.
That just shows me the value that people, like, it's not just a side hustle thing. Oh, we need a PM. It's an actual accredited, important field to go into. It has its own standalone bachelor's degree, associate's degree, community college certifications. That's fantastic, right? Again, had I known this, if I had taken some tests and PM came up 20, 30 years ago, I would have done that. I just didn't even know that was a thing. And 2-3 months ago, I had the opportunity to speak to an undergrad management class at Luther College. They had so many questions about being a PM. They don't have a PM degree, but that was interesting. It was like talking about that. What's a product manager versus project manager, So I'm really excited about that. I'm really excited about the passion about it. Now, you mentioned the teacher thing. Coming from teaching myself, it wasn't for me, right? It was a different time. And my commentary on this is, one, we need good teachers. We absolutely need great teachers in the United States. And I don't want to get political about any of this, but I still think that's extremely important. And it saddens me that there's so many people that I think are outstanding teachers moving away from education. They have highly transferable skills. There's no doubt. It makes me sad. My daughter is 13 and she wants to become a teacher, and that's what she's talking about doing. And I'm like, great, we need great teachers.
Right.
I think she'll be wonderful. My sister-in-law is a teacher. Now, however, if you want to transition into project management, there are a lot of transferable skills for educators, right? From the, say, the power skill side, the emotional intelligence side, definitely. The one thing, depending on the role that you had, is the tech side. the domain expertise side. You can take a certification. We can talk about that, in this podcast. I strongly believe in certifications, but just because you have you pass a test doesn't make you a strong PM. I think there's a lot more around that in my mind. And so there are opportunities for teachers to transition into project management. And I think the skill sets that they bring and then emotional intelligence that they bring is really valued to me, right? That humanity, working with people, they have the ability to learn, patience, herding cats to the 10th degree, all of those things. And then you can teach someone, I think if you can teach the right person the tech skills, I'm an example of that.
Wasn't part 3 with Lori pretty cool? I thought so. Her insights into the transferable skills from teaching to project management and how different personality types can thrive in this field were just truly inspiring. Lori's journey is a testament to the power of adaptability and the value of leveraging your unique skill set no matter where you started. I hope you found this episode as enlightening as I did. If you're enjoying our series with Lori, be sure to tune in next time for the final part of our conversation, where we'll delve even deeper into her experiences and advice for aspiring project managers. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep managing those projects with confidence.